Now's the time. Have a seat. Welcome, everyone. Please find your way in and have a seat. If you're standing in the aisle, please make your way forward. Please find a seat. We're so glad you're here. We want to make sure that everyone is comfortable. Please be seated. We are beginning. We're so glad you're here. Shabbat Shalom, live stream friends. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Let's sing these words together. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Everyone here in our sanctuary should have near them a prayer book which says Mishkan Tefillah on the cover. Rabbi Timoner has one. Can you hold it up? Oh, can you hold yours up too? It looks like this. If you have a book like this, please hold it up over your head. Please hold it up. Look around. Everyone needs a book like this. Look at the cover, how it has a flame on it. This is the kind of book you need right now. If you're looking around for that book and you can't find one, just raise your empty hand so one of our greeters in the back can come bring you one. Anyone who needs a prayer book, just raise your empty hand high and we can come bring you one. You can put it down now, thank you. Shabbat, thanks. Shabbat, put it down, thank you. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Let's sing it together, come on. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. These prayer books open from right to left. We open them now from right to left, page 192. Page 192. Look in the lower right corner. If you have two numbers, look at the one in brackets. Page 192 in the lower right, and in big blue words on that page, you'll see these words, Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu. Again, page 192 in the lower right. Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu Alecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu. Let's sing it together now. Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu. Sing it again. Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu. Vani berov chastecha avo beitecha Eshtach vel heichal kodshecha beiratecha Ma tovu, Ma tovu, Ma tovu. A little louder, Talia. Ma tovu, Ma tovu. Four more times, each one more beautiful. Ma tovu from the back. Ma tovu, Ma tovu, Ma tovu. The middle of 192. Vani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berov chasdecha Aneni behemet ishecha Ma tovu, Ma tovu, Ma tovu, Ma tovu. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Timoner.
Shabbat Shalom, Cantor Breitzer, and Shabbat Shalom to all of you. It is wonderful to be with you this morning. We were just singing the words Ma Tovu, which means how good it is. And these are the traditional words we sing when we walk into a sanctuary as Jews, when we come together in prayer. We described this place as if it was the tents of Jacob, as if we were like our ancestors gathering together under a tent. This is not a tent, but this is a sanctuary, and maybe you have never been in this sanctuary before. Maybe you've been here lots of times, but maybe you've never been here before. And whether you're new here or been here a lot of times, we're really glad you're here, and I want to welcome you. I want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing this morning. So you're going to find in your Siddur that Cantor Breitzer made sure you have, you're going to find that most of what we're going to be doing is we're going to be praying in the Hebrew, which is usually on the upper right page. On the right side and on the upper part of the page. And then right across from the Hebrew, you'll find transliteration. So let's say you're somebody who doesn't know how to read Hebrew. It's not easy for you to follow along in the Hebrew. You can still completely join us in every word and every syllable by using the transliteration. So we invite you to do that. Below that, you'll see the translation. And on the left page, usually what you'll find is actually not translation. Usually on the left page, what you'll find is English, but it's usually not actually translation. It's usually a poetic interpretation. Like somebody contemporary was trying to come up with words that would help us connect to these words. Because the words of the Hebrew prayers, even if you were fluent in Hebrew, some of us are here, might not be words you would naturally say. They might not be your own words. They might not be the way that you would want to express your heart. And so on the left, often what we have is poets trying to tell us, hey, this is what this is getting at. Maybe these words will help you find your way to connect. And let me tell you why that's important. We actually really, really care about whether or not you connect this morning. Because you might think, like you're sitting in these pews, in these rows, and we're up here, or over here in these chairs, and you might think like you're kind of like an audience, and this is kind of like a show, and we're performers, and you're spectators, and you're just going to sit back and watch, and it's all going to happen here. But that's actually not true at all. That's actually not what we're doing. It's a misunderstanding of what we're doing. This is not theater. It's not a performance. You're not spectators. You're not an audience. We actually together, everyone in this space, we're making something happen. And you're part of making it happen. And actually, we want you to help us make it happen. So what are we trying to make happen, you might ask? Like, what are you talking about? Well, what we're trying to make happen is this brilliant thing that we inherited, and it's called Shabbat. And it's this brilliant thing, which is that the idea is human beings need rest. Every human needs time when they're off duty, when they're not doing the work of the world. All the things we do on the other days where we're trying to create or fix or control or profit, those are important activities 6 days a week. But if we did that 7 days a week, we would not be healthy, we would not live as long, we would not be happy, and maybe most importantly, well, those are important things, very importantly, we might forget who we are. If you're coming on in right now, come and find your seat. I want to make sure that I have a chance to speak to people and they have a chance to hear me, so come on in and find a seat. So what I'm saying is, I need you. I'm saying I need you. I'm saying that we're trying to make something happen together, and I'm depending on you to help me make it happen. Because this idea of Shabbat, we all need it. And what I was about to say was, in those 6 days when we're busy in the world and responding to emails and texts and, the phone is ringing and we've got deadlines and we've got to-do lists and we've got people who are depending on us and we've got meetings to go to and we've got classes to do, we've got homework and tests and papers and whatever other things, we forget who we are. We think that we're defined by the work we do in the world. We think that we are just that. I am whatever. I am an accountant. I am a lawyer. I am a producer. I am a student. That's what I am. I am a rabbi. That's what I am. But actually, you are so much bigger than your job or your being a student. You are so much bigger than that. And that's what we remember when we take a day to rest. We remember, oh my gosh, wait a minute. My life is not actually defined by the thing I do on those 6 days. I'm actually bigger than that. I'm a living creature. I'm alive in the world, and I'm alive right now, and I won't be alive forever, but I'm alive right now, and it's amazing to be alive. Do you guys feel the air this morning and see the sky? We're alive right now, and it's miraculous and wondrous and full of all kinds of things that are worthy of gratitude, and we often are going too fast with all the work of the world to even notice. And so we take a day away from that and say, wait a minute, who am I again? What actually matters to me? What am I grateful for? When it comes down to it, at the end of my life, what is going to be the most important thing? Am I paying attention to that? How well am I loving? How well am I living? I'm alive. That's what we're doing together. It's really big stuff. It's important. Okay, so if you just sit and watch a show that you're missing, you're part of this. So use this time to do that, to wake up out of the week, out of the work week, out of the student week. Wake up. Oh my gosh, here I am. I'm breathing. I can see, I can feel, I can sing, I can hear, I can love, I can learn. Oh yeah. So use the words or don't use the words. Use the silences, use the music, use your breathing, use your imagination. Do what you need to do in this, to use this time to remember who you are. That's what we're doing, okay? So we're going to continue on page 194, and that is a prayer in gratitude for the miracle of our bodies. And mostly we're not going to be using the words in the book, so that's a little complicated, but it's going to come, Kenneth Breitser's going to sing it. It's not so complicated, the words. You're going to hear him. And then we're going to sing one line of Hebrew, and that line of Hebrew is on page 194. We're going to go from there to blessings of every day. These are like ordinary things of every day when you wake up. They're not actually, we don't think of them as miracles, but they're actually called miracles here in the book because the idea is if you actually pay attention, even though they're ordinary and every day, they're actually miracles. Things like being able to move, things like being able to open our eyes, lots of things like that. And then we're going to go from there to Psalm 150, which is the final of all the last of the Psalms, and it just centers on the word hallelujah. So you can definitely do that. And you know what everyone kind of knows what hallelujah means. It means like, wow, amazing, awesome, thank you, right? And so when we get there, I'm going to give you more instructions about what to do, but you're kind of key to making that moment happen. All right, right now we're on page 194.
I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. Sing "Oh" with me. Oh, I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am and a little broken too. I'm perfect the way I am and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. Oh, here comes some more ohs. Oh, a little higher. Oh, and higher still. Oh. Middle of 194. Baruch Atah Adonai Rofeh kol basar umafli la'asot. Once again, Baruch Atah Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh kol basar umafli la'asot Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sechvi bina lehavchin ben yom uben laila Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim page 200 Praise to you Adonai our God sovereign of the universe who stretches the earth over the waters Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who strengthens our steps. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who clothes the naked. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who gives strength to the weary. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. Ama avir sheina me'enai utnuma me'af apai 202. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, Shasani ben Chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who girds Yisrael with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Yisrael b'tifarah.
We're going to turn now to page 218, where you'll find Psalm 150, and here's what the instructions are. Everybody in the sanctuary, no matter where you are, you're going to come forward right here. If you're in these chairs, you're just going to stand where you are. Everybody else is going to get up and come to my right, to my left, all around Cantor Breitzer and me, really, really close. The key is you're going to get out of the center aisle so everyone can come close. We're going to all be up here for Psalm 150. Coming up, page 218.
Oh, keep moving forward if you're in the back. Oh, we need you, especially you. Whoa, yes, I'm talking about you. Yeah, you. Whoa, 218. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Keep moving forward, keep walking. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Here we go. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Keep walking forward. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Come on, Charlie. Hallelujah, el bekocho. Hallelujah, birkia uzo. Hallelujah, bigvurotav. Hallelujah, kerokuno. Here we go, let's sing it. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. We can do better. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. What was that? Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Beteka shofar, hallelujah, beteka shofar. Hallelujah, benever vechinot. Hallelujah, betofu machot. Hallelujah, beminim ve'ugav. Everyone now! Hallelujah, hallelujah. Come on, friends. Hallelujah, hallelujah. If you love Dean, sing out louder. Hallelujah, hallelujah. If you love Talia, sing out louder. Hallelujah. Betzirtzele shama, hallelujah. Betzirtzele shama, hallelujah. Betzirtzele trua, kol hanshama tehalleluya, hallelujah, hallelujah. Everyone singing out loud. Here we go. Hallelujah. Don't make the rabbi be the only one jumping. Come on. Hallelujah. We could do so much better. Let him hear you on 8th Avenue. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Now just a whisper. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Whisper. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Don't forget to breathe. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. You can actually breathe. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
All right. Now that we're a little bit warmed up, we're going to make this the friendliest place you've ever been to in Brooklyn. You're going to find somebody you don't know. You're going to introduce yourself. You're going to wish them a Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, but don't go far. You're going to want to stay up close for this. Shabbat Shalom.
Alrighty. All right.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you for being so friendly. Shh. Thank you for being so friendly. We're going to stay up here. So now, you've done a great job at being friendly. Thank you so much. I need your attention again. Thank you. All right, so Dean and Talia are now going to receive a special gift from their families. Each of them are going to receive a talit. Talia is receiving hers from her parents, Gillian and Peter, and Dean is receiving his from his mother, Shiran. And let me explain as they're coming forward what this is. So this is a talit. They can be different colors, they can be different fabrics, patterns, but they all have this. They all have on four corners these fringes called tzitzit. And they are wrapped and knotted in a particular formula that represents the mitzvot of the Torah and God, God's name. And when we wear it on our shoulders, what we're doing is we're saying we're taking on to ourselves, we're reminding ourselves of the way of life of a Jewish person. And so today, as Talia and Dean become B'nai Mitzvah, yes, they've worked so hard to get to this day, and you might think, like, they did it, they're done. No, not at all. They did a ton of preparation, and we're gonna learn from them today, and it's gonna be beautiful. And today's the beginning of the rest of their lives living as Jews, and that's what this symbolizes. So they're gonna come close up here, and both speak into the microphone, and they're gonna receive their talitot, say the blessing, and put it on their shoulders.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivarnu lehi tzitzit.
Amen.
We're going to turn now to page 224, which is Hatzi Kaddish. We're going to face toward Jerusalem.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בהגהלה ובזמן קריב וימרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. 226 ברכו את אדוני המבורך page 228. If you are friends of Talia or Dean, these chairs in front are for you. We need to fill them all up now. Everyone else, please return to the pews, unless you're Talia and Dean, in which case you're going to stay up here. 228. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzeh or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. So just to be clear, these seats are for you as well, and you can fill them in. Baruch atah Adonai, and you can be seated. Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzeh or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Once again, page 228. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzeh or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. We're in the middle of page 229, I think.
Yes, we are. Please join me in the English on 229 in the middle. You are praised, who rolls out the rough raw clay of the universe into delicate vessels of light. And from nothing at all we could perceive in a world that has turned old, a shimmering new creation right before our eyes made this moment just for us. How much of life reveals your presence? How much Torah unfolds from each new flower, from each new wave that breaks upon the sea? You are praised, who forms from the clay that cloaks our lives, the delicate vessels which contain our light. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. On page 230, we come to Ahava Rabbah. This is our prayer in which we declare that our ability to learn is a gift of love. What does that mean? Well, if we could not learn in an ongoing, never-ending way, we'd be stuck. At some point in our development, we'd be stuck. We wouldn't grow, we wouldn't deepen, we wouldn't expand in wisdom or understanding. At some point, we would just stop. Today, we're celebrating 2 young people who've learned quite a lot to come to this day. And if they just stopped right here, that would be so sad, right? They have so much more learning ahead of them. And any of us at any age, if we could not learn tomorrow, if we were done, we would be stuck, we'd be fixed. We would not be able to improve ourselves or have more insight or get a better way of living in the world. Because we don't know actually how to live in the world. We might think we do, but we don't, right? We don't know how to live in the world without destroying it. We don't know how to live in a world that's in a way that's fair, just. We don't really know how to live in the world. So we have to keep learning if we want a chance of doing right and doing good. And the fact that we can keep learning, like it just never stops, that like today and tomorrow and the next day we can just keep growing, that's amazing. And so we declare in this prayer that that is a gift of love. That is something we don't ever want to take for granted, because confusion's painful and misunderstanding is harmful. And we want to do less harm and we want to be less confused. And so that's what this prayer is. We're thanking God for that capacity we have that does not stop. And perhaps also hoping and intending that we will use that capacity to its most maximum to make ourselves as much of a blessing as we can in our lives.
Adonai Eloheinu, chemla gedola v'teira, chamalet aleinu, ba'avur avoteinu, ve'imoteinu, שבטחו בך, שבטחו בך, אהבו אמותינו, ותלמדם חוקי חיים, כן תכוננו, תלמדנו, המרחם, רחם עלינו, רחם עלינו, ותן בליבנו, להבין ולהזכיר, לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור ולעשות, ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה, והאר עינינו לתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו באהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש ולא נקלם ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. Near the bottom of 230. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. 232. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. 234. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. Page 240. מי כמוך האלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושי פלא. Clap your hands, שירה חדשה, שבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו והאמרו. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Please rise. צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ופדחי נאומך יהודה וישראל. אוהלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני God Yisrael.
We come now to our Amidah, our Tefillah, on page 242. This is our central set of prayers that we pray standing. And the first major prayer that we'll find on 244 in a minute, we begin this series of prayers by introducing ourselves to God as the descendants of Abraham and Sarah and their descendants. We remember when we pray this prayer that we come from somewhere, that we come from ancestors, our own grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents, but also generations upon generations upon generations of people who in their moment did their best to learn and live and become a blessing and pass on values, and we are the recipients of that. We are made of them. And we, in our moment, are doing our best to do what all these prayers have been saying, trying to live and learn in a way that will bring redemption to the world and make our lives a blessing. And we are not only descendants of ancestors, but we are ancestors of descendants. And part of what we're doing in this prayer is praying words that were the same prayers our ancestors prayed for generations and generations, and that we hope that our descendants will pray for generations and generations. And we see ourselves in this moment as a link in a really long chain in time, receiving all that we've received, all the learning of the people who came before us, and trying to apply it in our moment to make the world what it should be, and to serve with our lives, and then to pass it on so that it will be carried forward. And today we're going to actually put the Torah in Dean and Talia's hands, symbolizing that. We are recipients of this Torah. We possess it now. We give it to them, and we ask them to carry it to the future. And so now we all get a chance in this prayer to ourselves, see ourselves like we'll be seeing them as part of that chain. And how do we want to be a blessing, and what do we want to pass on? And how do we hope that these words live on in us and in the people who come after us?
שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Aladai, 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 aladai. 244. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך. אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. 246. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים, אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בלי שני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה, לחיות מתים ברוך אתה, אדוני מחיה המתים. 248. לקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וכרזה אל זה, ואמר קדוש, קדוש, קדוש אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר, אדירנו, אדוני, אדוננו, מה אדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, רחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו, ביבינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ברוך אתה אדוני האל HaKadosh. We continue silently through page 261, using the words of the pages in between, using the words of our hearts. When we've each finished our personal prayers, we may be seated. page 250. Shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Something's about to happen. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Rabbi Timona, we're all going to make it happen. Mekadeshe Shevi Shabbat, Kulam Yismehu ve'yitanagu mituvecha Shabbat. Together, Yismehu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Sing it with me, Yismehu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. V'hashvi'i ratzita vo v'kirashto Shabbat. Come on, Shai. Hemdar yamim אותו קראת שבת, אין ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת, וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת, וקורא עונג שבת. This is the repeat after me section. Ready? Zecher Lemase Bereshit. I fooled you. Shabbat. I don't believe you. Shabbat. Oh, let's try it again. Zecher Lemase. Not bad. Lemase Bereshit Shabbat, Yismechu b'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg, say oneg. V'korei oneg, say oneg. Oneg, oneg. V'korei oneg Shabbat. Nice drumming, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Wow.
Nice everything else, Kenter.
Hey, when you want to compliment someone in a synagogue, what do you say?
Oh, good idea.
Yeah.
We can teach that right now.
Okay.
So you might think you applaud when someone does something great in a synagogue because you do that, like we were talking before, that this is not a performance like you might find in Broadway or other places. So there you might applaud. Here you might think you would applaud, but actually this is different. Instead, when somebody does something great in a synagogue, you say, Yasher Koach. Yeah, let's do it again. Yasher Koach.
And to respond, you can say, Baruch Tihiyeh.
Yes.
May you be blessed.
Yes, or bruchati if the person is a woman who's saying it to you. Yes. So, here we are. We're about to go into our Torah service. And do we have a, no. Okay. We're going to just go into our Torah service. So, oh, maybe, Aaron, you're not giving announcements, are you? No. Okay. We're not going to have announcements. We're just going to go into our Torah service. And it's on page 362. And in order to get there, I need some help. I need several people to open the ark. First, we're going to have Talia's great aunts and uncles, Shulamith and Eugene Wolf, Robert and Sky Yost, Susan Regan, Harold Ginsberg, and Tate Michael. And then Dean's mother, Shiran Arberman. And then, once Dean and Talia have the Torahs in their arms, they're going to be followed around the room in the Hakafah, or the processional, by Talia's cousins and Dean's brother. Talia's cousins are Ilan, Sam, and Ami Lipton, Eben and Ezra Golan, Rowan and Oliver Yost, Jacqueline and Sienna Boxer, Jordana and Michaela Boxer-Wackler, and Sophie and Ayla Hesser. And then Dean's brother is Emmett. All right, so we're going to ask everyone to please rise, and we're turning to page 362.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai. Everyone opening the ark, please come forward. Ve'en kema'asecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim. We need Dean too. U'memshaltecha bechol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. Go ahead, Dean, go up, go up. Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Av harachamim heitiv avirtzonecha et Zion. Tivnech omot Yerushalayim, Tivnech omot Yerushalayim, Ki v'cha levad patachnu, Melech el ram v'nisa, Adon olamim. Page 364. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Udevar Adonai mirushalayim. 366. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael Bikdushato. 366 in the middle. We continue with words of Shema on the count of 3 from our B'nai Mitzvah, and then us. 1, 2, 3. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shmo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Adonai iti uneromema Shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula ve'hagevura ve'hatiferet ve'hanetzach ve'hahod. Ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz, ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz. Lecha Adonai הממלכה והמנעשה לכל ראש. רוממו, רוממו, רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. Keep clapping. רוממו, רוממו. Clap louder please. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. Keep clapping now. על שלושה דברים. Clap louder. על שלושה דברים. על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים. על שלושה דברים. על שלושה דברים העולם, העולם עומד. Get ready. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. Please be seated. Tali, Yasher Koach, that was the heavy Torah, which you managed to take around. Yasher Koach to you.
I was very impressed with that, actually.
Yeah.
All right, we find ourselves this morning at the very, very beginning. The beginning of the Torah and the beginning of the world, the beginning of creating, the beginning of everything. And so we're going to be reading from Genesis chapter 1. We're starting actually at verse 24. So if you know, we were talking before about the book, we've been working in the book that has the flame on the front. It's called Mishkan Tefillah. We're shifting now to another book. On the cover it says The Torah. That's how you know it's the one we're using for the Torah. And we're looking at page 20, which is Genesis chapter 1, starting at verse 24. We're going to be inviting members of Talia's and Dean's families up for the aliyot, for the blessings that are chanted before and after each portion of Torah is read. We're going to start with Talia's grandparents, aunts, and uncles, and her sister, Anna, is going to be chanting. And so we invite for the aliyah Judith Lipton, Ellen Yost Lafili, and Louis Lafili, Murray and Linda Yost, Jonathan and Galina Lipton, Benjamin Yost and Megan Hurley, Elizabeth and Amir Golan.
Yamdu hakrim Shabbat HaMitzvah l'Aliyah LaTorah.
One of the things we really like to do here at CBE is invite our teens to chant Torah, whether or not they're related to the B'nai Mitzvah. Because, you know, you chant Torah when you become B'nai Mitzvah, but then you've only done it once. And so if you want it to really be a skill, you've got to do it a few times. So we love it when our teens come back and chant and kind of have the skill ingrained so that they can bring it out into the world. Already. We're ready for the blessing for the aliyah. 1, 2, 3. Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Amen. Vayomer Elohim, Totzeh haaretz, nefesh chaya, lemina, bechema varemes, vechayeto eretz, leminach, vayachichen. Vayas Elohim, et chayat haaretz, lemina, ve'et ha'abima, lemina, ve'et kol Remes chayma laminechu vayar Elohim ki tov vayomer Elohim naaseh adam b'tzalmeinu kidmutinu v'yerdu v'idgat hayam uve'of hashamayim uva b'chema uvechol haaretz uvechol haremes haromes al haaretz vayevra Elohim et ha'adam B'tzalmo, B'tzalem Elohim, Barach Oto, Zocharun Kevam, Barach Otam.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Yasher Koach. You can come around to the left side if
You
you'd
can
like.
all stay over here, right over here. Just crowd around to this side, please. Except Anna, because I think you're going to help bless this next aliyah with your parents.
That's
Is that
right. So Anna and Gillian and Peter are going to come up for this next aliyah as Cantor Breitzer chants Torah.
יעמדו על משבת המצווה ואחותך לעלייה לתורה. Talia, hang tight. Not just yet. Not just yet. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Take some breaths.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayivarech otam Elohim, vayom Elohem Elohim, peru revu, milu et haaretz, v'chivshua, uredu vidgat hayam uve'of hashamayim, uvechol chaya haromesed al haaretz. Vayom Elohem, hine natati lachem et kol esev zorei הזרע, אשר על פני כל הארץ ואת כל העץ, אשר בו פרי עץ זורעי הזרע, לכם להיות לאוכלה. ולכל חיית הארץ, ולכל עוף השמיים, ולכל רומס על הארץ, אשר בו נפש חיה, את כל ירק עשב לאוכלה. ויהי כן. ויעל אלוהים את כל אשר עשה, והנה טוב מאוד. ויהי ערב, ויהי בוקר, יום השישי.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And Natalia, with the arms of your family ready to greet you, we call you forward as a bat mitzvah by your Hebrew name. Ta'amod, ta'amod, ta'amod. Habchura bat mitzvah. Talia, Gabriel, Vad Galilea, Laya, Vad Yitzchak, Lalia, la Torah. Hiskri ve'imtzi.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Vayichulu hashamayim ve'aretz v'chol tzeva'am. Vayichal Elohim bat yom hashavi'i mekadesh melachto asher asa. Vayishbot bat yom hashavi'i mikol melachto asher asa. Vayivarech Elohim at yom hashavi'i ve'akadesh voto ki vo shavat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach.
When we have the Torah here in our midst, we take time to draw from its strength and think about people we know who need that strength. People who are sick or struggling in some way, people who need healing. So we're going to sing Misha Berach. It's on page 371 of the prayer book, not the Torah commentary. We're going to pray the start of it together, and then I'm going to invite you to call out names of people you're thinking of who need healing. And then we'll pray the second part of the prayer together.
Berach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
We pray for healing for the following people we name now. Anybody? We pray together.
Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We now have our cantorial intern, Jordan Goldstein, chanting Torah, and we invite Dean's father, Joel Arberman, to come up for the Aliyah. And we are continuing in chapter 3 of Genesis, verse 16, and you'll find that on page 26.
Yamor alav Shabbat hamitzvah la'aliyah laTorah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. El ha'isha amar harba arbe itzfonech ve'heronech be'etzev tel divanim ve'el ishech teshukatech ve'hu yimshabach uladam amar kishamata lekol ishtecha vatocha min ha'etz asher tiviticha lemor lo tucha mimenu arura ha'adama ba'avorecha b'itzavon tochlena kol yemechayecha v'kotz v'dadar tatzmiach lach v'achalta et esev hasadeh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Now we're going to invite Dean to come up and chant Torah, and we're going to ask his brother Emmett to come up for the Aliyah.
Yamor alav Shabbat hamitzvah la'aliyah laTorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
בזיעת אפיך תאכל לחם עד שובך אל האדמה, כי ממנה לוקחת, כי עפר אתה ואל עפר תשוב. ויקרא האדם שם אשתו חווה, כי היא הייתה אם כל חי. ויעש אדוני אלוהים לאדם ולאשתו כותנות עור וילבישם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. We now call Dean forward as a bar mitzvah by his Hebrew name. After that, he'll take the corner of his talit, touch the scroll, and kiss it before blessing it. Yamod, 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 b'chor bar mitzvah, Shalom, ben Shira ben Yoel, aliyah laTorah, chazak ve'amatz.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
ויאמר אדוני אלוהים, הן האדם היה כאחד ממנו לדעת טוב ורע, ואתה פן לשלח ידו, ולקח גם מאת החיים, ואכל וחי לעולם. וישלחהו אדוני אלוהים מגן עדן לעבוד את האדמה אשר לוקף משם, ויגרש את האדם וישכן מקדם לגן עדן את הקרובים, ואת לחד הערב המתהפכת לשמור את דרך את החיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי העולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Yesher koach. All right. Oops. I didn't. David, would you? All right, we are ready to lift and dress our Torah. And I'm going to invite Rabbi David Adelson to come and help us lift the Torah, to actually lift the Torah. And to dress the Torah, we have Talia's cousins, Jake and Melissa Boxer, Selena and Brian Boxer, Wackler, Leora Mostoff and family, Molly Yost and Joshua Ewing, Skylar Yost, Jane and Jeff Hesser, and Dean's brother Emmett Arberman. We ask everyone to please rise.
Page 370. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. Get ready to clap. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. מורשה קהילת יעקב, מורשה קהילת יעקב, מורשה קהילת יעקב. תורה ציווה לנו משה. עלי לה 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 לה, איי לה 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 לה, איי לה 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 לה, איי איי איי, עלי לה 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 לה, איי לה 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 לה, איי לה 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 לה, איי איי איי, איי איי איי, איי איי איי, Please be seated, except for Dean and Talia. Dean and Talia, come back to the lectern for Haftarah. Dean, don't forget your binder.
I see that the little crinkly candies are making their way around. And see if you can hold them without crinkling them so you can hear Talia and Dean as they chant Haftarah. They're going to be chanting from Isaiah chapter 42, starting at verse 5, and that's on page 51 of your Torah commentaries. And just to say a word about this, what we do on a Shabbat morning is we watch Torah move through time. We hear the original text, and then we hear a passage from the prophets that the rabbis connected to this original text through some thematic link, and it's kind of fun to look and see. Can you figure out what was the connection between the Haftarah portion and the Torah portion? But what we're doing is we're seeing Torah applied in time. And then what we're going to see is our B'nai Mitzvah be our teachers and apply Torah in our time. But first they're going to chant Haftarah, and they're going to start with the blessing, and then chant from the prophet Isaiah, and then end with the blessing. And we're starting at Isaiah 42:5, and we're going to skip to chapter 43:10 when we move from... Who's going to go first? Dean's going to go first. He's in chapter 42, and then Talia's in chapter 43. And they start with the blessing. And they're going to stand together, and they're going to hold the
Hold it with your left hand. Hold it with your left hand. Baruch, 1, 2, 3.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'vihim tovim ve'ratza b'divrichem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo ובנביאי האמת והצדק. כה אמר חאל אדוני בורא השמיים ונותיהם רוקח הארץ וצאצאיך נותן נשמה לעם עליך ורוח להולכים בה. אני אדוני קראתיך וצדק ועצק בידיך ואת שכר ואתנך לברית עם לאור גויים לפקוח עיניים עיוורות לחוצי ממסגר אסיר מבית כלך יושבי חושך. אתן עדי נעוד אדוני ועבדי אשר בחרתי למען תדעו ותאמינו לי ותבינו כי אני הוא לפני לא נוצר אל ואחד לא יחיה. אנוכי אדוני ואין מבלעדי מושיע. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם צור כל העולמים צדיק בכל הדורות האל הנאמן האומר ועושה הנהגר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. על התורה ועל עבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה לעבוד ובתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני
וברוך שמו
מקדש השבת.
אמן. סימן טוב ומזל טוב ומזל טוב וסימן טוב סימן טוב ומזל טוב ומזל טוב וסימן טוב סימן טוב ומזל טוב ומזל טוב וסימן טוב יהי לנו יהי לנו יהי לנו ולכל ישראל יהי לנו יהי לנו ולכל ישראל יהי לנו יהי לנו ולכל ישראל יהי לנו יהי לנו ולכל ישראל. Can we turn the mic back on, please?
If you are a kid and you didn't get any candy and you wanted candy, raise your hand. You didn't get any? Okay, if someone who has more than one, there you go. Make sure you didn't get any back there? Somebody help, somebody share over there. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. All right. All right. Now, I mentioned that we're watching Torah move through time. And we heard the Torah, then we heard our prophets, we heard Isaiah, and now we're going to hear our B'nai Mitzvah, who are our Darshanim. They are our teachers for today, and their job in doing this was to look inside the Torah and see what they saw, and then apply it to now. to look for a message that we need to hear, that they felt was important for us to understand and to listen to. And up until today, they've been our students. And today, now they become our teachers. And so we're going to hear their Torah. And we're going to start by hearing Talia.
Shabbat Shalom. My parsha, Breshit, is the first parsha in the entire Torah. We learn how God creates the world in 6 days, and on the seventh day, he rests. We call that Shabbat. God creates the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve reside. The tree of knowledge is placed in the center of the garden, and God tells Adam and Eve that if they eat from the tree, they will be punished by death. When exploring this text, I was curious about the placement of this tree. Why would God place a tree in the center of the garden that they are not allowed to eat from? It seems to me that putting it there would make them want to eat from it. So this made me wonder, could God have set up the tree like this intending for Adam and Eve to eat from it? Lots of different rabbis and commentators have different views on this. When I looked at two of them. Rabbi Lawrence Kushner wrote that in order to become a responsible adult, you need to have childhood rebellion. When Adam and Eve are in the Garden of Eden, they are sheltered from the world by God as a parent figure, but God wants them to develop, grow, and take responsibility for their actions. I think God places a tree in the middle of the garden to entice them into eating it so the rest of the story of humanity can begin. Once they get out of the garden, they become more responsible actors in the world as God intended. However, some rabbis disagree. Radak teaches the opposite. The reason God placed the tree right in the center is that if you want to protect something carefully, you make sure it's surrounded equally on all sides. In this teaching, God does not want them to eat from the tree. I disagree with Radak because I think that God wanted Adam and Eve to eat from the tree, though for different reasons that Rabbi Lawrence Kushner does. I think the reason God places a tree in the center of the garden is that he wanted Adam and Eve to understand that real life includes struggles, obstacles, and stumbles. And even with all the challenges they will face outside the garden, they will also have to be able to find happiness, joy, and serenity. They have the capacity to overcome challenges in front of them, and it is the very first lesson humanity learns. The text itself provides some proof for this in the form of foreshadowing. During the creation story, God tells Adam that his job is to till and tend the earth. However, in the Garden of Eden, they did not need to till and tend things to enjoy all that grew there. This commandment is only relevant outside the garden. Perhaps God must have had some future plan for them. I think it's important that this is the first story in the Torah because some people will struggle a lot. We will all struggle a lot throughout their whole lives. There will always be challenges to overcome. Life is not easy, and to be able to look back at this story and see Adam and Eve went through the worst possible situation for them, survived it, and went on to be okay, could help us know that we have all the resilience we need when we face life challenges and struggles. Even though I'm not sure Adam and Eve were real people, this myth can still teach us important lessons moving forward. For example, our entire globe over the past few years has experienced one of the most unexpected and challenging obstacles in recent history, COVID-19. Through online learning and working from home and the fear of the unknown, we have made our way and are slowly getting back to everyday lives. Maybe it's not the same of getting exiled out from the garden, but this experience was changing the world, so we had to change with it. We found the resilience to muster the strength to get out of bed every morning and do all that we could to keep everybody safe and find ways to be happy, even when it felt impossible. When I look ahead of us in the near future, I see lots of issues that are going to require that level of resilience. To me, it is so scary that women in some states have lost the right to make decisions about their own bodies. The work ahead to protect pregnant women will be long and slow, and will take all our resilience to keep at it. So will climate change. We can make small individual impacts, but together we can change how fossil fuel companies do business. It's not easy, and we're going to fail a lot along the way, but we're going to need to be able to persevere. If Adam and Eve had given up once things got hard, imagine the story we'd have to tell about ourselves today. Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher Koach. So now at this time, we're going to invite our Yachad third grade students to very quietly, very respectfully, and thoughtfully make their way to the side entrance where their teachers are waiting for them to continue learning in the classroom, and not to put Rabbi Molly or Jess, our assistant director, on the spot, but if one of the third graders tells you something really insightful about what they just learned from Talia and they deserve like an extra special sweet treat, maybe that can be arranged down in the rotunda. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, third graders. We're ready for more Torah. Dean.
In my Torah portion, Bereshit, God creates the world and then the first two people, Adam and Eve. God puts them in a garden called Eden with a tree of knowledge and a tree of life. God says not to eat from the tree of knowledge, and God sets some ground rules for them about these trees. He doesn't tell them much else about how to live, but oh well. Eve gets tricked by a serpent into eating from the tree of knowledge, and then Eve gives the fruit to Adam too, and he also eats from it. God finds out and gives very specific punishments and sends them out of the garden and into the world. The biggest question I have about this portion is about what God says and doesn't say to Adam and Eve. God only tells them that Adam will have to grow his own crops and Eve will have painful pregnancies and labor. That's kind of it, and then God expects them to know what to do, where to go, and how to function in the world without really telling them where they are, what to do, why to do it. My question is, why doesn't God explain what Adam and Eve should do, and what should God have said to get them ready for life? On one hand, I think God may have wanted them to figure it out by themselves. God doesn't want to have to hold their hand and force them to be a certain way. But this makes me think about a painter who's created a painting with a certain meaning behind it. The painting may want people viewing it to understand what he meant by the painting, and that he doesn't really want them making up their own interpretations that he didn't intend. If God wanted them to understand what God meant for life to be about and didn't really tell them about anything, I think God should have given them further and more explicit instructions as soon as they came into the garden. See, if I were God, I would have told them what human beings are, what the world is, what it's like, where they are in it, and what they're meant to do as a species, basically what their mission is. I also would have told them the consequences for messing up, why I picked them. I might have told them the most important thing is figuring out the meaning of life, that part of their job is to keep discovering new things, be curious, and I would have told them what they have to do to get back into Eden. But none of that happened, and Adam and Eve had to figure it all out by themselves without instructions, which applies to all of us. But I think that might have been what God was trying to teach them, just like the painter making his painting open to interpretation. An experience that reminds me, this is when I did poorly on a pre-unit test on fractions around 3rd to 4th grade. Every now and then in school, I take these pre-unit tests to show what you know whenever a unit starts in class. This happened to me, and I did pretty poorly on one sometime around mid-elementary. And I had no idea how any of the questions were meant to be answered. But as the unit went on and on, I finally understood everything the unit had to offer through figuring it out myself instead of being told everything. If this moment had any significance, it would be how we are not always going to know everything, and sometimes we have to figure things out for ourselves. Let's say I was given all the answers and was just told to circle all the right answers the whole unit without ever understanding why or how to solve the problems myself. Then there would be no point to even having the unit if I discovered nothing. This reminds me of Adam and Eve because they also had to learn how the world worked. If they had been told all the things I would have told them, they would have no more amazing discoveries left to make, making their purpose somewhat missing or at least very, very boring. I believe the purpose of our existence is to discover new things on our own, no matter how minor we think they are. Thank you and Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher Koach, Dean. Yasher Koach, Talia. Beautiful Torah, both of you. So you two asked totally different questions, but they're actually kind of the same question. Hear me out on this. So why did God place the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the center of the garden? And why didn't God give Adam and Eve more instructions about how to live in the world outside the garden? Another way to ask both questions is why did God create openings for, or invite, or even encourage Adam and Eve's free will. Or in yet another articulation, why did God court chaos? There didn't have to be a tree of knowledge of good and evil in the garden at all. And there certainly didn't have to be in the center. And there could have been a complete Torah guidebook handed to Adam and Eve upon their entry or exit from the garden, as you suggested you would do if you were God, Dean. And instead they were left to figure it out themselves. The former invited transgression. The latter invited confusion. Now, Dean, I love the idea of the painter not giving the meaning of the painting. I mean, you talked about the painter in the first part, that the painter should give the meaning if the painter wanted the person to understand the meaning, but by the end you were giving us a different argument, which is that there's a reason that we don't know the meaning of the painting. We need to interpret it and discover it for ourselves. And Talia, I love the idea of teaching resilience through struggle and suffering. It happens. That's how we grow. And also, though, for another way to say what both of you were talking about is that chaos is built in to the design of the world. It's built into the design. Last Shabbat, I had the opportunity to be on remotely streaming a double b'nai mitzvah of two rabbis who are in their 80s. Tamara Eskenazi, Rabbi Dr. Tamara Eskenazi, and Rabbi Stanley Davids. He was having his second bar mitzvah, and she was having her first, even though she's a rabbi and a really renowned scholar of Torah. And they focused on the first couple of verses of the Parsha, which we did not focus on today. But in the first couple of verses of the Torah, it talks about God creating the world, and you might think God's creating the world out of nothing, and there was a kind of debate in the medieval ages about whether God created the world out of nothing or out of something. But if you look carefully at the second verse of Torah, there are things already there. There's darkness already there. There's something called tohu vavohu, which is, it's often translated as unformed and void, but it's like chaos. There are the depths already there. God's presence hovers over the depths, and there's water already there. Those are the things that are there at the beginning. And some scholars have pointed out that the word for depths, which is tahom, comes from a Babylonian concept of a goddess named Tiamat, who was the goddess of chaos. And that the depths, the kind of dark depths, were representative to our ancestors of chaos. And that God's force was coming to order that chaos. And what creation was an ordering of chaos. And some have even gone so far as to say that the book of Genesis, the very beginning of Genesis, is about a battle between our God and the Babylonian god or goddess, between the God of chaos and the God of order, and that the God of order wins, and that's what creation is. So that is a common understanding of what's happening there. But what I heard from Rabbi Eskenazi and Rabbi Davids was something really different, and I want to share it with you, and then I'm going to bring it back to your questions, which is that what if it's not a battle at all? What if it's actually intended to be a coexistence of order and chaos together, and that's the nature of the world, and it's actually what it's supposed to be? Tahom, the depths, it represents chaos to us, but it's where everything comes from. All creation emerges from those depths. It's kind of like a womb, and everything's born out of it. And out of that place of uncertainty, unpredictability, is where all possibility emerges, not just in the story of the beginning of the world, but if you think about it, if everything was known and determined and structured and fixed, there would be nothing new. There'd be no possibilities. We actually require some lack of order to have creativity and possibility. And so out of this place that we associate with, this kind of depth that we associate with chaos in our tradition, comes all creation and also all possibilities. Rabbi Eskenazi talked about how creation is not ex nihilo, out of nothing, but ex profundi, out of depth. And we then live in a world that is we are swimming in a sea of possibilities all the time because there is chaos. Now, chaos uncertainty are upsetting to us. We don't like things to be uncertain. We don't like things to feel out of control. It makes sense that our ancestors understood God as ordering the universe as a good thing, and the word tov, meaning good, also associated with the idea of order. Our gut sense is that when things are ordered and predictable, that's safer. But all variability, all diversity, all possibility, everything that we are here to be able to make happen and that we enjoy that surprises us is only possible because of that unknown, the uncertain, the dark, and the chaos. And what it is to be an adult, these rabbis were teaching, is to grapple with chaos, to deal with tumult, to be with what's inchoate and what's not yet, and to find balance for ourselves between order and chaos so we can still be part of creating something that's vibrant and vital and changing. And what it is to be a Jew is to, even in the midst of chaos, and even particularly in the midst of chaos, to be guided by mitzvot. So the idea of Torah, which you were arguing for, Dean, should have been there right at the very, very beginning, is to have guidance about actions. And mitzvot are actions that are right actions, to look into what is unknown and to determine what can I do, what are the actions that are right actions in this moment, and how can I contribute myself toward goodness, even in the midst of what's unpredictable and unknown. And the assertion of Torah is that your actions matter, even when things feel out of control. So why does this matter right now? I mean, we, as you talked about, Talia, are in a moment where our resilience was just tested, and we learned how resilient and strong we are. And we gain resilience by surviving something difficult like COVID. But resilience is not just surviving. Resilience is also learning from the experience and learning about ourselves and learning about the world. And the way that we learn is only by facing something new or uncertain and making the best choices we can, and then evaluating those choices, and then assessing how we want to make choices differently next time. And as these rabbis said at their B'nai Mitzvah last week, we are in a time that many of us would characterize as filled with darkness and chaos. Things feel unpredictable right now, often frightening. We worry about our future in lots of dimensions and lots of ways. And we wish that things felt more ordered. The chaos is upsetting and frightening to us. But if we remember that chaos and darkness even are also a sea of possibilities, are also where every new thing can be born. We, like Adam and Eve, can see ourselves not just in this frightening time, but also in a time full of amazing discoveries yet for us to discover. And just like them, we've learned resilience. We've learned to take on the challenges that await us, and whether that's the restriction of women's bodily autonomy or climate change or our democracy or many other things that seem challenging to us in this moment, we have learned that we are resilient. So every possibility and every future is available to us. And it's up to us to use all that we've learned so far, to choose among the possibilities, to sit right in the midst of the chaos, and to take actions toward the futures that we would like to be born. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to return the Torah to the Ark. I'm going to ask Talia and Dean to come join me there and give them a blessing. And I ask everyone to please rise.
Page 374. Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al tazovu etzaim hi yamachazikim ba Shalom. קדש ימינו כקדם. Standing and turn to page 586 at the bottom. Aleinu l'shabeach. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. 589 Clap your hands. Okay, nekavelecha, okay, nekavelecha, okay, nekavelecha. Adonai Eloheinu, okay, nekavelecha, okay, nekavelecha, okay, nekavelecha. Adonai Eloheinu. לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך, לתקן עולם. לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך, במלכות שדי, שדנדדדדדדאי, אנדדדדדדאי, אנדדדדדדאי, שדנדדדדדאי, אנדדדדדאי. 591 ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד Please be seated.
We always conclude our time together by drawing near the people we love, whom we've lost. And as we prepare to say Kaddish on this special day in the lives of their families, Talia's family is remembering her grandfather, Amiram Lipton, and Dean's family remembering his grandfather, Moshe Avrahami. Zichronam livracha. If you are in a period of mourning, if you're in Shiva in the first week since the death of a loved one, I invite you to rise and tell us who you're remembering. And if this is Shloshim for you, the first 30 days since the death of a loved one, I invite you to rise and tell us who you're remembering. And if this is Shana, the first year since the death of a loved one, I invite you to rise and tell us who you're remembering. And if this is a yahrzeit, the anniversary of a death, I invite you to rise and tell us who you're remembering. And we all rise in company with the mourners in our midst. And we remember this recent loss in our congregational community, Joanne Wyman, mother of Jessica Wyman, mother-in-law of Matthew Cohen, and grandmother of Easton and George. And though the burial has not yet taken place, we're thinking about Anne Levy, mother of Alden Levy, and mother-in-law of Janine Levy, and grandmother of Gigi and River. And we remember these yahrzeits: Rose Amer, Marion Appel Simon, Louise Ahrens, Pierre Azarad, Max Barkin, Ruth Beckenstein, Chaya Berkovich, Neil Bernstein, Nathaniel Bloom, Henry Boley, Marvin Braderman, Arthur Brenner, Norman Kaplan, Eva Karen, Alice Cashman, Jeffrey Chellew, Laura Chellew, Alan Simberg, Molly Claybon, Jack Cooper, Benjamin Dorman, David Edson, Marie Ellison, Jack Epstein, Ruth Felderstein, Stephen Fingerit, Nathan Glassheim, Nathan Glicken, Bernard Goldbetter, Mamie Goodman, Helen Gorlick, Sol Gross, Sharon Kovacs Gruer, Sylvia Hahn, Herman Hershkowitz, Charles Jaffa, Eleanor Jaffe, Jack Klein, Sarah Kolikoff, Marvin Kushner, Benjamin Lechner, Pearl Levine, Jonathan Levine, Lena Leviton, Rocco Linarello, Merle Marco, Norman Minkin, Murray Polonsky, David Rosen, David Rosenberg, Mark Rubin, Arnold Shukin, Herman Simon, Herman Spencer, Nathan Harold Spear, Dorothea Tenrosen, Joseph Wallace, Leonard Warris, Sidney Wash, Anna Young, Elmer Young, Itka Freiman, Zygmuntowicz. Holding them all together, we say Zichron Nam Livracha. May their memories be an everlasting blessing as we turn to the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divra chirute v'amlich malchute. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. B'agala uv'izman kariv imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the one who makes peace make peace for all who mourn. We say together, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom, Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Amen. Yalalai, every voice, go. Yalalalala. Louder. Nice. Yalalalala, ya 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 la la, yalalalala, yalalalala, ve'imru. Amen. Ve'imru. Amen.
Mazel tov to Talia and to Dean and to their families and friends. Shabbat shalom to all. We're going to have Kiddush over here. Shabbat shalom.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות ישראל, אותי לעולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת. Lucy Blum, come down here. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו סברי, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ.